The Lakers stunned and sent packing by the Wolves. Was it a lack of bigs, star players not playing like stars, the rookie coach, or are we just witnessing the ascension of Ant-Man? Plus, why the Knicks should think big if they want to avoid a Game 7. That and more today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to pick up your sticks and learn more. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt, what are the chances that we are witnessing the Anthony Edwards playoffs?
Ooh, good question. If we get it, which I hope we do, Anthony Edwards versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be something. It's going to be amazing if we can get there.
And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Hayes. Anthony Edwards took a literal victory lap around Crypto.com Arena after downing the Lakers. He made a Boys in the Hood reference and then said his favorite movie was Matilda. He may not want to be the face of the league, Hayes, but he contains multitudes.
He is. It's amazing. I kept saying that Anthony Edwards has the chance to be the best player in any series, and he definitely was that in this series against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, let's keep it going.
All right, the third-seeded Lakers are out in 5 games. The Wolves move on. Stunning relative to how many people picked the Lakers to win this thing in 6 games. Let's go to the Kamenetsky brothers over at Locked On Lakers for the autopsy report.
They lost this series because their stars weren't good enough. Their most prominent,
or certainly not prolific enough at the very least. Like in the case of someone like LeBron, for example, who, like you mentioned, defensively for most of the series, he was very good, but they frankly needed more counting.
They needed more.
They needed LeBron to be taking over more, truly taking over.
The top heaviness of the Lakers construction only works when everybody is playing at the level that you need them to. And Luka, he scored a bunch, but then he got sick, and that's not totally his fault, but it impacts the series. And, he ran out of gas a little bit in game 4, and he was hurt in game 5. And okay, I'm not saying Luka's trash or the trade was a mistake, but Luka wasn't at where the Lakers needed him to be to win the series.
Matt, I've seen a lot of criticism of Luka's fitness, his defense in this series. Inside the NBA was particularly harsh on him after this game was over. Did this series vindicate Nico Harrison at all?
For now, I think a little bit, but we got to remember how these things twist and turn. Like, you remember the reaction to the Rudy Gobert trade? You sent 5 first-rounders for Rudy Gobert. This is the worst trade of all time. Wolves barely make the playoffs, get eliminated in the first round. What a mistake. They got to tear it down, fire everybody. Oh, wait, they're in the conference finals. Oh, wait, they just knocked off the Lakers. Like, these things twist and turn. I think, look, we do need to come to grips, though. He was sick. He was hurt. It has not been a good year for him physically. I get it. We got to accept here, though, like, Luka is as bad defensively as everyone has always said. Do not start ascribing the wrong things to him like we do with star players, where they're so good at scoring the basketball. We're like, he's actually pretty underrated defensively. No, he's a trash can on defense, Hayes. We must keep it 100 and keep up with the information that they're going to build a contender around Luka. It's got to be 4 defenders because you're getting negative 50 from that man.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Luka's a very flawed defender, and we also knew coming into this series that this team wasn't yet built around Luka like it needs to be, right? Like, that's part of why you wanted to go out and get Mark Williams. And not to excuse this series at all, like, Luka needed to be better down the stretch. There were a couple plays, especially in last night's game, where it was just like, Luka, do you realize the series isn't over quite yet? But and he is who he is. But I don't think anything vindicates Nico Harrison from still not shopping Luka, not starting a building war, and what he decided to get back. There's nothing that vindicates that. But the Lakers and Luka are going to be fine heading into next year. I think they're going to be really aggressive about going out there and kind of solving some of the issues with this team.
Speaking of Mark Williams, I don't have the box score in front of me here, but Rudy Gobert, I'm going to just conservatively estimate that he had about 76 offensive rebound putbacks in this game. 0 minutes played for Jackson Hayes, who was the starting center for the Los Angeles Lakers to end the season. A weird 5 minutes for Maxi Kleber, who hasn't played since coming over in the Luka trade. So the Lakers rescind that trade for Hornets center Mark Williams. Matt, should the Lakers regret that decision today?
100%, man. 100%. Love Mark Williams tweeting last night. Good for him. Good for that man. Yeah, like that's what they needed. So the big key here is there should have been a conversation before the deadline where Pelinka goes to JJ Redick and says, hey, if we get into a playoff series, are you going to trust Jackson Hayes? And gotten a clear and honest answer from him. Maybe that happened. And JJ was like, yeah, I trust Jackson. Then they got there. It was like, I do not trust Jackson. That to me is the big indicator here is that he did not trust him. Now, if you want to say like Jackson got killed in his minutes, yeah, because you programmed him against the big lineups instead of the small one. You need to counter program. Like a very like simple thing is you play small ball versus Rudy, you play big ball versus Nas. That's how you get there. With Jackson's mobility, those minutes were pretty good, but they never got to him. Jackson never played against the small ball minutes. He only played against Rudy. Of course he got killed. So to me, this is less about Jackson Hayes and how he played. And the Mark Williams thing would have been good because you could have trusted him. If you want to center just to combat Rudy, you needed Mark Williams because Jackson Hayes was never going to be that matchup.
Hayes.
Yeah, they should regret not keeping Mark Williams, especially when you look at how good he played towards the end of that season, how motivated he looked like he was. They could have used that 15 and 10 last night. They could have used that lob threat against a team like this. So, but they're going to go out. They're going to get their guy this summer. Doubt that's going to be Mark Williams, but looking back at it, if they really wanted to make a legitimate run this year, they should absolutely regret it. But luckily, they have a long runway here with Luka Doncic still on their roster.
Doug, I got to hear from you, Hornets fan. Does Mark Williams help?
I think he would have in a way that I don't think we're talking enough about, and JJ Redick sort of hinted at this after the game. He was asked about not playing Jackson Hayes, and essentially he said it was about trade-offs. They couldn't score when those players were on the floor. And I think Mark Williams, as much as he might have helped, keeping Rudy Gobert away from the offensive boards, I think you saw a lot of games in this series where Luka was scoring 38, 40 points, but only dishing out one assist. That's very un-Luka-like. I think Mark Williams would have provided a lob threat that they didn't necessarily have. He could move a lot better than Jackson Hayes for sure. Speaking of JJ Redick, I mentioned a lot of people had the Lakers in 6. That includes the host of one of the hosts of Locked On NBA, Matt Moore, but it also includes the host of Locked On Wolves, who tells us what he missed in that prediction.
Discounted the coaching advantage that Minnesota had, the coaching experience that Minnesota had compared to JJ Redick. Chris Finch coaches circles around a rookie head coach, makes all the right adjustments himself, pulls all the right levers, and rides this whole thing out. One of Chris Finch's superpowers is his players trust him. They know that he trusts them, and sometimes to a fault. Finch timeout management certainly improved, but go back to his first playoff series against Memphis, which, by the way, the Wolves pushed that Grizzlies team to 6 games in his playoff head coaching debut in the NBA. Chris Finch struggled with timeout management. He grew from that. And JJ Redick's going to grow from this. And I've been killing Redick over the last couple of weeks. He was a really good regular season head coach, but Chris Finch was far superior in the playoffs.
Hayes, who had the worst round 1 coaching performance, JJ Redick or Doc Rivers?
Doc by far. And maybe some of that is just bleeding over from my dislike of Doc's coaching. Like, I understand Doc's a solid coach, make no mistake about it. And, he was missing Dame for part of that series and even when he came back. But I think just some of the decisions that Doc Rivers made over there, the lack of adjustments again, like the fact that this team, the little bit of defensive identity that they looked like they developed towards the second half of that season went completely away, and they had no answers for the Indiana Pacers in that. Like, JJ had moments where he looked like a pretty good coach. He also had some harebrained moments as well that you look at, like keeping your whole second unit in there, the whole second half of the game and things like that. But overall, I'll say I still pick Doc. He made more bad decisions in this one.
I think a better one is who's a worse executive the last couple of years, John Horst or Rob Pelinka. Now, I think Horst has done an overall great job with Milwaukee. Like, you can't blame the man for the damn trade. But this year, like Rob Pelinka, and it's like, well, Rob Pelinka got Luka. Did he, or did he get handed him? Because he got handed him. He walked into a coffee shop and walked out with Luka Doncic. That's all the man did. I can't, though. I will say, this team is not complete. The Lakers, like they were never. You heard these reports, and we talked about them here on the show. Of the Lakers are going to be patient because they understand this is a multi-year program. The question I have is, what does that mean for LeBron? If you're going to be this patient, like your man's 40, like, time to go. And that, I think, is what's kind of frustrating about it from that perspective. JJ didn't have options. Doc had options and didn't use them until game 5, and then used them and then still found a way to blow the lead at the end. So I agree with, hey, it's got to be Doc Rivers was worse.
You mentioned LeBron there. Coming up on the Locked On NBA podcast, we are going to send the Lakers off like we have with the other first-round exits. Will they be back? But I'm going to add something. Will they be back with LeBron James? That's coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? With the Fire TV Stick 4K, you can play top Xbox titles, no console required. Just grab your controller, sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and dive into games like EA Sports College Football 25 and Call of Duty Black Ops 6. It's gaming made simple. With Wi-Fi 6 support and auto low latency mode, gameplay is smooth and responsive. It's perfect for competitive players. And if you're always on the go, Fire TV Stick 4K is way more portable than a console, so you can game or stream wherever you are. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select Fire TV devices. Turn your TV into a gaming hub with Fire TV. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Let's send the Lakers off like we did with the rest of the first round exits with one addendum. Will the Lakers be back into the playoffs next season with LeBron James, Matt?
Yes. For him, his son Bryce is 17, and his daughter is still in the house. So, like, he's not leaving LA. Like, he's just not leaving LA. He's got business interests. The family likes living there. Savannah likes living there. Like,
well, they make planes, right? I mean,
they do, but he doesn't want to be away from him, and I respect him for that, right? Like, for him, it's the Clippers are not a marquee enough franchise for a star of his talent. I think that's a mistake, but that's his choice. The kids are still in the house. Family likes living there, and he's got a lot of business interests there, and it's better to live there. So, like, the Lakers are the only franchise that's a big enough name to associate with him in his mind. Again, I think that's a mistake, but that's how he feels. So yeah, he's going to be back. They'll get him on he'll opt out of the player option and re-sign on like a multi-year deal that he won't finish probably, but he'll get paid. It'll limit some of their flexibility, but yeah, he's not going anywhere, even though I think he should run for the hills with how they've treated this last era of his career.
So what Matt Moore just said is that he's going to be playing for the Clippers next year is what I heard there. No.
Would be better.
It would be better, but he would never. Yeah, they'll be back in the playoffs with LeBron for all the reasons Matt said. Bronny's still on the team. He has a contract. Bryce isn't in the league yet. I think LeBron's he's comfortable in LA. He may be a little bit frustrated, but I think either way they're going to get to work. LeBron's going to be back in LA, and they're going to be back in the playoffs. And they probably, hopefully they can make it past the second round next year. I don't have any hopes, but we'll see.
Hayes, imagine a LeBron trade for James Harden. Imagine James Harden and Luka Doncic together. Who's stopping that duo?
Referees, officiating, defense, zone.
I could go on. Matt, you mentioned how the Lakers have treated LeBron during this last era. Do you think that LeBron would restructure his contract? You mentioned dropping the player option, but restructure it in such a way to allow the Lakers some flexibility to make that team better? Or do you think he's going to say, no, just pay me my money?
He's always been against that. Like, that's a broader thing for him. It's not about the team situation. That is honestly, it's like a moral thing for him. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need it. He's a billionaire. But for him, it's about you, the owner, don't get to get a break on me, the best player in the league in the last 20 years, to make your team better because of the system you built to limit my earning potential. And he's 100% right, I think, on that. The only time that he's really taken a pay cut was Dwayne Wade came to him and was like, we need to get UD. We need to get Udonis. And he took a pay cut for that. And that, other than that, So I don't think he does.
All right, 2 big game 6s tonight. Knicks, Pistons, and Nuggets, Clippers. Locked on Knicks says if New York wants to get to the second round ASAP, they should go big or they're going back home.
Lineup is playing the most possessions together of any lineup in the NBA right now in the postseason. They are at minus 4.7 points per 100 possessions. You don't want to be putting up negative points with your starting lineup. Overall, lineups with Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson this postseason, in whatever minutes they've gotten, have been a plus 1.4. With those two plus Jalen Brunson, they've overall been a plus 8.8. Now, the only problem with this is that we've only seen 24 possessions of this postseason. Why would you not go to it more?
All right, that sounds like some pretty good evidence to me. Alex advocating for a starting lineup switch. I think Knicks fans would just settle for getting the best players on the court at the end of the game. Hayes, what will you be watching tonight in this matchup?
I'm gonna be watching. You know what I'm gonna be watching in this matchup? The Knicks get their butt kicked. That's what I'm gonna be watching in this matchup.
Wow.
Because that's what I think is gonna happen. The Detroit Pistons are gonna come out here. They're gonna win this game. They're gonna force a game 7, and then everybody in New York's gonna be panicking. They're gonna be freaking. There's gonna be mass calamity. Everything all over. Cats and dogs living together. It's all gonna be crazy because the Detroit Pistons are motivated in this one. And while the New York Knicks have played really better than I expected in this series, the Detroit Pistons and Cade Cunningham, they're not going to go away. They're going to come in there. They're too young to care and to realize the situation that they're in. They're going to come out with the win in this one.
All right, Hayes, I got Knicks tonight. So I'll tell you what, whichever one of us is right has to come on the show tomorrow and say 20 seconds of nice things about the Clippers. We got a bet?
Oh, my God. Why do you want me to die? Like, that's
I'll time it.
Let's do it.
All right, there we go. We're on it for tomorrow. I like Knicks here. First off, I just want to ask, Alex Wolfe has got that great green screen. Dude, why did you not put an image of a Little Caesars, like a random Little Caesars, like spot in a mall out behind you? Come on, man. Come on, Alex. Get on the level. This is the playoffs. The 2 big lineups, not a bad idea. I think the reason the Knicks are going to win this is they've honestly, like, their offense that's been the key for me, is that Detroit's gotten a few outlier performances here and there. And I'm not surprised. They're not like way outside of the bounds. This shouldn't be a shorter series. The Knicks are a little incompetent, and that's why this is a longer series. But I do think they'll take care of business tonight and win on the road. Little surprising fact, game 6, first round, if you're down 3-2 and you're at home and you're favored, you lose more often than you win. I was really surprised to hear that. Usually favorites crush in the NBA playoffs. Home favorites down 3-2 are actually under 500. So I think the Knicks take care of business tonight. Cat has a big game, and the Pistons head into an offseason after a tremendous season.
Speaking of taking care of business, the Denver Nuggets have an opportunity to do that against the LA Clippers. Matt, you're the local expert here. Do the Nuggets need another monster Murray game or another monster Jokic game to finish off the Clippers?
So here's the question, is like, what's coming from Kawhi? That's my question. Okay. If Kawhi doesn't show up for this, like he didn't show up for game 5, and honestly in his career has shown up for way fewer elimination games than you'd think, averages, by the way, 22 points. That's it. 22 points in elimination games over the last 5 seasons. This monster playoff killer, everyone makes him out to be, 22 points. But he could do it. He's got 2 40 bombs in that sample. So if he comes into this game and he absolutely just takes over, then you're going to need Jokic and Murray. If he doesn't, if it's Harden, I think you can get by with one of Jokic or Murray. Ty Lue threw the kitchen sink at Jokic in game 5, had Harden defend him, and then send help defenders being like, we're not letting him do to us what he did in game 4. So then Jamal Murray was like, no problem. So that's my kind of the situation here. I don't think you can shut off the water to both without Aaron Gordon getting going. I'm going to be very interested to see some of the matchup changes here. Kawhi guarded Michael Porter Jr. almost the entirety of game 5. That just takes him out of the play. He can't do anything defensively then. So I think we're going to see different stuff from Ty Lue tonight. Should be a fantastic ball game, Hayes.
We need to see different stuff from tonight. That's James Harden. You talk about Kawhi averaging 20 points in elimination games. James Harden averaged 22, and he's 9 and 15 in elimination games. So you can't have two players that don't necessarily put up the best performances in elimination games and expect much to come out of it. On top of that, like, this is what Clippers fans deserve. They deserve to get eliminated today by the Denver Nuggets, and that's just the way that I feel. So, I mean, you have me talking about the Clippers on here. What did you expect? I've been pretty kind to the Clippers over the course of this playoff run because they've been playing pretty well. It ends today. It's done. It ends today.
Now I'm rooting for Knicks and Clippers to win, so we have to get him saying nice things about a team that's still alive tomorrow. That's going to be amazing if we get that.
All right, speaking of Game 6 coming up on Locked On NBA, we are going to get one between the Rockets and the Warriors, but did the Rockets do something in that game that makes Matt and Hayes a little bit worried about their chances to continue to extend this series? That, and we play a game of Fair or Foul on the Most Improved Player Award winner and more coming up on Locked On NBA. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day, and make it your last listen at night with Locked On NBA Game Night. They are recapping every game of the playoffs every single night. Houston, they smashed Golden State through 3 quarters, but it wasn't as dominant of a victory as it could have been. Let's go to Locked On Warriors for more.
Midway through the third quarter, Steve Kerr decides to pull the plug. He takes the starters out. The bench unit comes in, led by Moses Moody and some size. Like Kevin Knox and Braxton Key, you could tell we're affecting the game a little bit. And Trace Jackson Davis, too, on the floor at the same time with their size out there, to the point where the Rockets had to bring their starters back in the game to finish off the Warriors. The Dubs almost got it within single digits. Steph Curry put the brace back on, potentially getting ready to go back in. What'd you think? With 6 minutes left in the Warriors within one possession of a 10-point game, not deciding in an elimination game to go with their starters after pulling it within 13. Your thoughts there?
I think that if I am Joe Lacob and Steve Kerr puts Steph Curry back in that game, I'm firing him after the game. The way they all came out in the third quarter looking like they were ready to sit for the night after 5 minutes, like, that is just begging for some kind of injury.
Matt, are you more bothered by Golden State allowing themselves to be womped on, not putting the starters back in down 13, or the Rockets letting the rope go and being forced to put their starters back in?
If I have to choose, I'll go Rockets, but I don't blame either side. Look, this was always going to be, I love the Rockets in this spot. I thought that this is that typical game where one team desperate at home comes out, fired up, goes for it. The other team looks at it and goes, all right, fine. If you're going to be like this, we'll get you at home. And they call it. Seen this a million times in the NBA. On the Rockets' perspective, how am I going to blame the backups who haven't played in weeks? Let them get back into this. That's like totally random basketball. No, I don't have a problem with either side of this. This was always going to be a blowout. It sucks that the Rockets couldn't hold that big lead in order for them not to have to put the starters back in. But ultimately, it's hard to blame them when you get into random basketball. Yeah, the entire game, it was like 2 different games, first half, second half. So I don't necessarily blame either side for how this one kind of worked out.
Yeah, it was just a weird game. I mean, you have the inexperience of the Rockets who haven't really been here before. Not to say that the players that the Warriors put in have a whole bunch of more experience, but like it was. I don't think you can really look too much into it overall. I think the overarching takeaway from this game needs to be, I mean, on a much smaller scale, he hasn't done it as consistently through it, but this is the type of game that they need to see from Amen Thompson every game the rest out. Like, this is how Amen Thompson, especially with Jalen Green only scoring 11 points, Amen, the way that he played today was last night was amazing.
I'm telling you, that guy is that dude. He's so good.
Amen. I want to talk more about him tomorrow because we got some reports that the Rockets may have already fielded some trade calls on Amen, and they said no thanks. So we'll talk more about that coming up. But I did want to ask this really quick. Pat Spencer was one of the players that got subbed in for the Warriors. He was actually ejected from the game, the first ejection in this series, and that's I don't know if that was a prop bet for Vegas. But I think it probably would have been long odds. But he's the first ejection from this series after he headbutted Alperen Şengün. Hayes, should they have allowed his mustache to stay in the game? Have you seen this thing? It's amazing. It puts mine to shame.
It does. It does. What was funny is that they actually ejected his brother that's not even on the team because they announced it as Cam Spencer instead of Fat Spencer. When they ejected him, that was hilarious to see. But yeah, that was a crazy moment.
I have so much respect for this Warrior second unit for understanding the assignment. Hey, go in there, make them put starters back in, and then beat them up. It could not have gone more perfectly. If you're going to get blown out, that's what you want. It was absolutely perfect, I thought.
All right, let's do a little fair or foul to wrap up the show. Another storyline from the Rockets-Warriors game was players, particularly Dillon Brooks, targeting Steph Curry's injured thumb, and some pictures that came out showing the swelling on Steph's thumb. If you haven't seen it, just go to the NBA Reddit. It's pretty grody. But Draymond says it's obvious that players are targeting Steph's thumb. Dillon Brooks doesn't exactly deny it. Is it fair or foul, Matt?
Fair. Come on. Let us be men. This is the most competitive basketball league in the world, in the playoffs, do or die, fighting for both a chance for your team to compete for a championship and the extra playoff money that comes with it. So I have no problem with it. This is what happens. If a guy has a bad back, you're going to see that elbow in the post up. If a guy's got a bad hip, you're definitely going to be crashing into him on box outs. This is a tale as old as time. If Steph doesn't want that thing getting hit, he needs to not play. But he's playing through it. He's playing great through it. So it's going to be fine. Steph Curry's going to survive. Dillon Brooks hitting his thumb, people. We can all calm down. Don't worry. The precious shooty hoops god is going to be fine.
It's fair. This is what happens when you play basketball. If you give them a weakness and they know it's something that they can exploit to try to throw you off your game, they should be trying to exploit it. Guess what? The Warriors would do the same thing. It's 100% completely fair, and just get over it. That's just it. Get over it.
But by the way, if I have a sprained thumb and someone hits it, I will not be on the show for a week with pain.
All right, I will argue for foul. This isn't blood sport. Two wrongs don't make a right. Just beat the team fair and square. Why all the shenanigans? In fact, I think, the Rockets, we're overrating them because they're just a team full of shenanigans and not enough actual skill. If they had enough actual skill to beat these teams, they wouldn't need all of these tricks. There's my argument.
Wow.
That's the strongest dumb take of the year.
Today. Wow.
Whoa.
Hey.
Well, you put me in a corner. You forced me in a corner by agreeing with each other, so I had to come out for foul. Dyson Daniels won the award for most improved over Cade Cunningham and Ivica Zubac. Fair or foul, Hayes? Dyson Daniels winning the award.
It's fair and fair. I love this because I'm tired of the Most Improved Player of the Year award going to whoever is on their rookie scale contract and playing the best. Like Cade Cunningham is a former #1 overall pick. He should be playing absolutely well. Dyson Daniels had the season while I don't think he should have been a defensive player of the year or anything. Nobody expected Dyson Daniels to have the impact that he made this year, to have such a special skill and skills and the way that he got to the ball this year. I think I personally would have probably picked Zubac here, but I still think it's fair that that Dyson Daniels won the award.
I'm just mad Tyler Hero got 4 votes. Come on, man. Tyler had a really good year under tough circumstances. But I think Dyson's totally fair, man. I think when you look at it, a player that was not in the rotation last year who became a starter and a name around the league, that to me is that's a wide enough gap I think everyone can agree on. People knew who Cade Cunningham was. He went #1 overall. If you paid attention to the Pistons last year, he was this good down the stretch of those. He was really good down the stretch of those games last year. So there's a surprise element I still struggle with most improved. Dyson was both. He was both most improved and most surprisingly improved. So I think Dyson was a totally fair selection for MIP.
All right, finally, Steve Kerr said after Rockets Warriors that all 30 coaches think it's idiotic the way the postseason is being officiated, referencing the lack of foul calls and the heightened physicality that has been featured in these playoffs. Matt, fair or not enough fouls?
I think this is ridiculous by Kerr. If you look at it, fouls are actually up. They're calling more fouls, but the players are playing super physical. Okay. Then you just tell your guys to go ahead, Steve. Tell your guys to play softer in Game 6 against that overrated, according to Doug, Rockets team. Just go ahead and do that, and then we'll see what happens. Look, I understand the coach's concern. They want to keep their guys healthy. I get it. And we don't want to see guys hurt. And so how do you balance that? You want physical, but you don't want guys hurt. But I don't know how to balance that, but I will just tell you, like, this is what the fans want. This first round has been awesome. Like, we love these games. We're all really excited about it. This is a much better product. Sorry, Steve, we're not going back to March basketball. We're going to do this. And I just think it's a better product. I know it's tough. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I genuinely don't. I don't think that we're in a phase where it's reckless. I don't think we're in a phase where it's out of control. Knock on wood, nothing happens tonight to make me look like an idiot. But I think it's worth it, Hayes. This is the basketball we want.
Yeah, this is the basketball we want. And while and everybody's entitled to their own opinion and their own thoughts, Steve, shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. This is what everybody wants. Like, we've been complaining about.
Shut up and coach basketball.
Just shut up. Just please. Just shut up. Go home. Just shut up.
This is not blood sport. No, I'm not going to go down that road again. I will say what's idiotic about this is that the regular season and the playoffs are so dramatically different. I want the playoffs to be a more intense product, but the gulf between the two things, I think, is what's idiotic. So to me, the change has to be allowing a little bit more physicality in the regular season. Let's prep some of these teams for what they're going to be facing in these playoffs.
If we weed out the weak, they won't complain when we get to April. That's a great plan, Doug. Love that.
All right, if you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Hayes for their expertise as always. Thanks to you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Tell a friend. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other. We're going to see you right back here tomorrow to wrap up the week on Locked On NBA. Sorry, Rockets fans.